excited and honored both to conduct this panel discussion because the people who are going to come on stage, these technologies, they're the people who have built a lot of companies from the scratch and which are currently being used by millions of people, if not billions, right? So I would start with Anil from Oyo. He's right now the Chief Technology Officer of Oyo Rooms, Anil Goyal. He's the guy who built Hike Messenger from scratch. Next on stage is Piyush Shah. He's currently Chief Product Officer of InMobi. He's been with the company for 8 years, and in last 4 years, he's responsible for taking it in the global setup. Next, we have Amitabh Mishra. He's one of my favorite techie. I'm not hiding it. The guy who has built Snapdeal from scratch and right now building GoPro. And next, the last, Vibhor Sharma. He's the CTO of Naukri.com, the guy who has been with Naukri for 16 years when the company was like 2-member team. And the amount of data they deal with is crazy. So welcome you all. Thank you so much for this. So I'll start with right now, Amitabh. How has the role of CTO evolved over the last decade, Amitabh, and how is it going in terms of decision making, in terms of their role in a boardroom?
So the role of CTO actually came to being in the last 10 years. In services company, the concept of CTO doesn't make sense. And in India, product companies were not that many. There were few here and there. But mostly, CTOs are useful in a product company. And product companies' explosion we have seen only in the last 5-6 years. The way it has evolved in the last 5-6 years is that CTOs are a lot more knowledgeable about how to build the gap between product and technology, as opposed to just being able to build technology. So CTOs are more mature and are able to build that balance. The second thing is, one important role that CTOs have to play is build a bridge between technology and business. You can build great technology, but it has to be in alignment with the business goals that are achieved by building those technologies. So CTOs are being asked time and again by the boards, by the investors, by the top management of the company of how do you build technology and what gains it brings as opposed to just building cool technology.
Okay. Vibhor, can you please add something, because you have been with a company which went publicly, right, listed now, and which went public and for 16 years, and you have seen it from the time when you guys were running, making it, trying to make digital, and then now to stage where in AI, ML, everything is there in place.
So I agree with Amitabh that the role has evolved only in the last 5 to 7 years. The role hasn't changed much dramatically, but what is different now is that because of the democratization of technology, by virtue of a lot of frameworks and platforms available, the evaluation of new tech is more bottoms up, right? So earlier on, it was the CTO who would try and sort of, be on the lookout for rising curves around the corner and get them to be evangelized internally. But now, because a lot of people down the layers are all doing that themselves, the idea for CTOs also has to be to help people evaluate that and find application in the business context.
Okay. Piyush, next question to you is, how are intelligent systems changing our understanding of consumers and businesses?
Hey, hi guys. I think the question, I guess, is much more linked, and we were talking earlier that we should talk about how I perceive AI and ML, and after this 2 hours of traffic in Bangalore, I'm just trying to imagine if machine learning can solve the AI traffic problem in Bangalore somehow. But I think the real, for us, what I feel is a lot of the AI stuff happening out there is complete hype. And when you actually get down to doing this in an organization, it just takes so many months and quarters, it's not funny. But in many cases, it's actually changing also. So it's not necessarily, I don't say it's the future, it's actually happening right now as we speak. And a lot of people out there say that, 100 years back when electricity was invented, or many years back, AI is going to be the new electricity because it'll transform many industries, healthcare, manufacturing, all these industries. And for us, I already notice how it's being already used in so many places. So clearly, we all use Google Photos. I don't know if you even realize how it's affecting what you do in Google Photos. A lot of us use Gmail, and you started seeing those responses coming in. A lot of us use, or some of us use Alexa. So all those things are happening, and Amazon right now, you won't even realize how much they're using it for predicting what you'll end up eventually buying. And now they are doing experiments to see how do they ship products to you before you even imagine you need them to your doorstep? So a lot of those things are happening on the world of machine learning out there. Very simple digital and internet-enabled businesses that are using it right now, but the actual adoption for these things for newer industries or all of that is still going to take some time. I just feel from our standpoint, because advertising is much more ripe for AI, and we'll talk about how we've done a lot more. But overall, I think for businesses like us, if you do not focus on that now, in the next 3 years, I think we'll be toast. And that's why it's important for us to even talk about this on the stage.
Okay. Anil, you have been a technologist for 22 years, of which 15 years have been with startups, right? What are some of the best and worst? Actually, just tell me one best and one worst decision made by you, which has impacted the company.
Yeah, I'll start with the worst and come through best because we'll apply some learning from the first one here. On the worst decision, I'll go back to 10 plus years ago. I was working for Real Networks in Seattle. And I was heading their technology for online subscription business when we have acquired an online music company. We wanted to integrate their product deeply into our subscription offering. And I had multiple choices at that point. We could have integrated those two products or instead bring them on the same platform. And partly being naive at that point, made a decision to say, we can merge the two systems together in 3 months, and then we don't have to manage two different platforms. And in fact, we were able to achieve the first part of writing software in 3 months. But when it came to data migration, we kept finding more and more use cases which were never there in the code or documented, which caused the project to go out for almost a year, really took us out from spending that time on innovation. So a key learning that came out of that was really wholesale migrations never work. You have to constantly keep moving systems, keep integrating them bit by bit. And that's the learning that I applied later at HyperQuality, where I was CTO. HyperQuality was a company which used to provide call center monitoring services to clients like banks, airlines. And they've been running the BPO business for quite some time. But they wanted to build a software as a service product, which clients can use for rich analytics, workflow automation. And one of the choice again was to either use the existing system and evolve it to make a software as a service offering, or think big picture and build the right product. And in this case, having gone through the migration experience before, decided to make the right system from scratch, which went on to become the #1 product in the industry within 2 years.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Vibhor, a lot of data you work on with, right? I don't even want to mention the number here. How do you balance the privacy and value of data? It's about data security.
So fundamentally, it's the promise, right? The promise that you make to the users that this is the reason for utilizing your data, right? And what happens is that for example, with a job site, so our promise is that we will use the data for getting people jobs, which means recruiters are going to access the databases, and then people will get enough number of calls and so on to get hired. So you have to be working and operating within the boundaries of the promise. And in the light of the new verdict around data privacy, which is probably going to be in the lines of the European standard GDPR, there has to be a solid consent framework to be built in, that you have to have the consent of the users for the purpose for which you're going to utilize the data, right? And if there is going to be anything outside of the purview of that consent, you have to proactively inform the users. So privacy has to work and operate under this framework. You have to ensure appropriate measures to sort of safeguard the data. And also, like I said, the promise of the platform would be about using this data to generate the value that it intends to.
Okay. Amitabh, artificial intelligence, Piyush also mentioned about it, and everyone in this room knows about it, wants to talk about it. It's like what probably big data was a decade ago, right? Sure. Will it make human skills redundant?
So this is a very good question and a difficult one to answer for believers and non-believers. Give me some more time than other questions to to express my views.
Yeah.
Is this the first time that we are seeing a trend in technology that is predicting doom for labor? Didn't they say this about computers many years back? That computers going to finish human skills? Clearly not, right? Computers, on the contrary, led to a lot more job growth than anybody could imagine. Some 30 years back, when computers were coming to India in railways and banking, people said that this is, politicians used to say and oppose Rajiv Gandhi saying that this is not acceptable because it will lead to massive job loss. What 100 people can do, a computer can do at much cheaper cost. But what ended up happening, what people could not see at that time was, let's say an example of banking, somebody who used to check their account through a passbook entry, standing in line once in 3 months, after the computers came, the cost of doing that check became so efficient that they could do 3 times a day. So because computers brought in efficiency, the cost of doing that service came so low that the demand for that service became much higher. And computers could do things that were not doable without computers. So that's the paradox. Computers actually, because of that reason, led to massive job growth because things that could not have been done were now possible at much cheaper cost at a much higher frequency. The same at some level is what I believe artificial intelligence will do. It is certainly transformational. It will start doing things that humans either cannot do or can do at a very high labor cost. But human skills themselves will move on to the next level. The other thing is where artificial intelligence is today. You know, artificial intelligence, the big impact of artificial intelligence is not in every human skill that you can imagine. It is very good at certain things like video and image and analyzing big data and audio and voice, but it's not there everywhere. And it's increasingly becoming better. So it will be some time before we'll know the true impact of what all skills it will make redundant. But I am 100% sure that artificial intelligence will move the human skill to the next level. It is going to be transformational, but it is not going to be bringing doom to the labor force.
Thanks. Carrying on from this, Piyush, what are some of the strategies which InMobi and the decisions which you have taken, right, which InMobi has adopted in terms of the futuristic approach to technology, right, the moves you have made, the strategies you have adopted in recent past? What are those?
I think I can talk about 2 of them. I don't know how many of you realize how global InMobi has been and how much of a scale we drive globally. So we today do like about 200 billion ads a month, which translates to like 500 terabytes of data per day. Now that is not too far away from what Twitter processes. So just an ability for InMobi as a company sitting from India to do this kind of processing of 500 terabytes of data per day and a lot of new data per day, that itself is so expensive at some level. So there's been a lot of work on how we can leverage a lot of high performance computing for processing this data where we use so much data and the whole cost cannot be expensive. The whole thing, you can do all this data stuff, but unless you do it at a cheap way, you can't solve for it. So a lot of work on our side on ensuring that we are leveraging machine-to-machine interaction for handling all this kind of data I'm talking about and making it much, much more efficient from a cost-wise for the company. So that's one thing. The second thing we're doing a lot more, and I want to talk about that for sure, is it's linked to the whole AI point. By next year, we really want to come out in the open and say, we want to be the best company in the world, maybe after Facebook and Google, that has actually really leveraged machine learning for better advertising. This whole holy grail of how do I serve ads that are relevant or personalized? I mean, none of us do that, honestly. It's all bullshit. It's all about how we actually end up solving for the advertiser's ROI, or on the other side, we've not really solved for the user problem. I mean, a lot of us don't even enjoy what we see out there. Somewhere we really keep feeling that that is an area we have to keep solving for. And for many reasons I'll not talk about right now, the bonus of machine learning can help us solve this problem. So one big move we're making for next year, not this year is more a foundational on that, is to really call out and see how we can be one of the best players worldwide on how we have successfully, meaningfully, in a real way leveraged AI for better advertising for consumers. And that's what I thought I'll share with you guys.
Vibhor, I wanted to add on this because I remember when we spoke last time for an interview, you mentioned that while the world is talking about machine learning and all right now, right from 2007-8, unknowingly you guys have been doing that, right? So now when you look into it today, how prepared are you and what are some of the steps which you have taken, you think, which puts you ahead?
So machine learning is, and artificial intelligence is a very old field. What is sort of commoditized is the availability of storage and compute power, right? So we've been doing some of the stuff already, but I think a couple of things that we're going to do, and we have moved in that direction, are addressing core problems of the job hunting space. One is essentially matching a candidate to a job and vice versa, which remains a perennial problem because a resume essentially talks about what you are, what you've done thus far. However, the jobs that you want are fairly aspirational, and there ceases to be any intersection between these two dimensions. So we're trying to address bridging this gap by knowing more about the candidate. And, so we're mining a lot of data. We have tons of resumes. We're trying to understand how people move from one organization to the other. What are their motivations, explicit and implicit. We're trying to sort of generate insights that tell us more about a job seeker's behavior, potential movement as well, and also therefore move from being a discovery platform to a recommendation platform, which is essentially happening all across the world because a lot of people are becoming passive consumers of data, which is they rely more on what the platforms are recommending to them than actively going out and seeking information in the context, be it like a song you want to listen to or a movie you want to watch. You rely on iTunes to tell you what's a good song, basis your liking. You rely on Netflix to tell you what kind of movie you would potentially like, and so on. So one is, to understand both job seekers and recruiters more deeply by looking at, historical patterns and predicting sort of, possible intersections between these two. And the second is simplifying, workflows. There's a lot of mundane mechanical workflows that are part of the recruitment cycle, right from sourcing resumes to screening them on the phone, taking Skype interviews, video interviews, to get a handle on, how's the guy or the person we were interviewing and so on, and then going through the whole process of interviewing and selection. So we're trying to bring about a lot of learnings from recruiters and hiring managers' behavior, and try and optimize that and bring in more effectiveness in the whole shortlisting and onboarding process. So to summarize, increase the potential conversion for a candidate matching to a job.
My next question is for Anil and Amitabh. I'll start with Anil. How do you evaluate a company from a tech point of view when you are looking for an acquisition?
Yeah. So having been through 10 plus acquisitions, 3 or 4 main things I'm looking at when I'm evaluating a company. The first of all, how have they evolved over time? Did they build a cool product or technology early on and have mostly been refining that? Or have they been fundamentally bringing in new capabilities, keeping up with the pace of innovation that's happening in the industry? The second big area I'm looking at also in the future, what does their roadmap look like? Are they making bets which are going to pay 2 or 3 years down the line? Are they making bets which you are not sure about whether they're going to work or not? Taking risk is a key element of building the great product. And if they're not doing it, that's a big red flag to me.
Okay, before Amitabh answers, I just want to tell you people that he has an incredible track record of 0% attrition of people who work below him. So I guess probably his answer is going to be in that direction.
So, some of it obviously is. When we generally look at acquisition, obviously the first and the basic is about the product and how it complements the product that we have. I mean, that's where you start. But once you've thought about making an acquisition, and even at the stage when you don't have a company in mind, the most important thing to me is what is the team that is coming along with the product. I would never acquire a product without a team. Without a team, the software has no value. to me, because the current software allows me only to come to the point where it already is. How do you take it forward? So the team and the people behind building it and their continue into the acquiring company is the single biggest factor that I would look at. And after that only I would go and look at the capabilities of the product and how the team is. So the second most important thing that I look, and that's again to a great extent is about the team as it manifests in the product, is how innovative they have been. Like Anil was saying, whether they had taken risk and been bold about building new features. I would value their failures in trying out ideas as much as I would about their successes. Whether they have innovated in building their products, and whether they were thinking out of the box and building things that nobody else was thinking about are the things that I would be looking at.
Piyush, I'll come back to you with this thing that, please answer this. What are the best and worst decision from the product point of view which you have taken, being it in Mobi?
Lots of worst, but I'll just go with, I think the best decision we took overall, and not say just product alone, but as a company, was trying to have a very China-first approach for China. I mean, one of the fewer companies out here where we've really invested in our China business right like 6-7 years back. It's not easy. It's a monster out there. China is a complete beast out there, and we're not doing well there because there's no Facebook or Google. I mean, don't forget there is Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent in China. I think ability for us as a product tech team to not force fit all the work we do for the US and other markets onto China was the first big decision we took. And we really spent time in understanding China deep down and have a very China-first, unique, different approach to building our products and tech. That doesn't mean we actually rebuild stuff. We actually just made sure that our engineers and product guys are spending a lot more time out there with customers and the language to really understand that market and then come back and figure out how we can think differently and solve for these problems. So I think that's been a big, big thing for us, and I'm pretty proud of that, actually, and that's been one of the big things for us, for our success and profitability. I would say, conversely, on the worst side, right 5 years back when we raised a lot of money from SoftBank, I mean, that time 200 million was big, right? Right now I think they're handing out money like crazy. It's some change, right? It's $1 billion is so easy to get nowadays. So 200 million 6 years back was phenomenal for us. And somewhere I think we went overboard in our assumptions that we can actually grow our tech and product teams not outside India very quickly. So we invested in a couple of companies in the US, set up a 25-member team far too early than what we could chew out here. We still didn't have a strong execution machine in India, let alone trying to run a remote tech outfit. And it was very weird because we thought Bangalore is my Mountain View or Menlo Park. So it was proud to have our satellite office for tech in the Bay Area and feeling good about it, but it actually bombed for us. So that was one of the bad decisions for us to invest in global tech and product offices too soon, too early. Doing global businesses itself is tough, but having a tech and product outfit out there is very difficult.
Anil, you created Hike Messenger from the scratch. You worked in Amazon, different capacity and products and technology. Then you moved to Oyo, wherein a product was already in place and you had to tweak and implement new things, right? So right now in last 1 year, at Oyo, what are some of the strategies which you have adopted, right? Which you think are very future looking and which you think are going to give you some kind of advantage above others?
Yeah, so coming to Oyo, certainly inherited a very good foundation which was built on innovation, built on a strong team. Taking it from there, investing in slightly more future bets. So a lot of things we talked about, intelligent systems, AI, machine learning. We started making bigger investment in those space in last 1 year. On the AI side, there is a significant opportunity for us to improve guest experience and improve operations of our hotels by using technologies like Alexa, where customers can order food or any kind of service request without having to access their app. or we control lighting and air conditioning based on the changing environment conditions. So a number of those bets currently are in early stages and will take time to mature, but those are ones we believe are going to be significant game changer for customer experience and the cost. Similarly, on the machine learning and data sciences side, we are in a perishable inventory business, which means if we don't sell a hotel room, next day there is no value left. So predicting demand accurately, changing our pricing, marketing spend, marketing campaigns according to changing demand, so you can maximize the occupancies, fairly significant impact for us. And it's again in early stage of investment that will keep paying for long time.
So just last round of question to all the panelists, starting from Vibhor. What is that one piece of advice you would like to give to the CTOs, budding CTOs, already existing CTOs, and CPOs in the room? What is that one piece of advice if you have to give?
I'll be a very overarching one, man. I guess in very simplistic terms, it will be don't focus on the solution first, focus on the problem. And I think that's what the problem is with AI as well. You got a hammer in your hand and you're searching for nails, right? I think you've got to figure out what is the problem you're solving, and then find solutions worth your while in the context of the business and the environment you're operating in.
I think before I give what I think strongly about, let me set a little context. In just 20 years, where Indian tech scene has come. When Indian tech scene started, we were doing testing for the most advanced nations and then doing some maintenance work. And we climbed the value chain from there to being able to create product companies now. I have a very, very strong feeling that India is at a point where it can create global innovation. You just need to believe in it. Be a strong believer that you can build products that will be appreciated worldwide, and you will be able to do it. I personally feel India is at a point where we are not too far away from creating a company like a Facebook or Google in next 5 years. So just be bold and go for it.
Yeah, I think kind of agree with you a lot here. And I don't even know what kind of audience. I'm sure not everyone wants to be a CTO or CPO, so I'll not even recommend that. It's not a, don't even go for that. It's a stupid, very difficult.
How many of you are techies? Quickly raise your hands. How many product guys? Okay, there you go. How many entrepreneurs?
Exactly. Great. So I was going to have my message for the entrepreneurs here, because anyone can be an entrepreneur. It's just from my own learning personally, from having spent way back time in banking and Deutsche and Citi, and then last 8 years in Mobi. I mean, the few things that has worked for us as a team, as a bunch of execs, and possibly the founders, are just 3 things that has helped us a lot. And I just want to share that and express that. It's a magic combination, in my opinion. It is a combination of ambition, hardcore ambition and audacity, whether it's about ruling the world or doing something which is more global or something which is very, very large. But ambition is, you have to really be ambitious about big, big things. The second paired metric there is grit. I mean, nowadays I keep saying, passion is available in wholesale outside. All of you guys are passionate about your whole roles, but beyond a certain point, passion wavers off when shit hits the roof. I mean, then stuff is not working according to our own stuff. So grit and resilience and not giving up at all, despite the whole environment around, is something that I really believe in. I mean, Mobi has gone through its own ups and downs. And to me, the ambition and grit combo, combined with humility. I mean, I just feel if all of us, once you achieve any sort of success, I mean, humility has to be a big, big thing for all of us. And somewhere the combination of ambition, grit, and humility, to me, it's a potent combination for things to actually work out.
Ambition, grit, and humility. Anil, quickly, 30 seconds.
Sure. I'll make it quick. So one of the key debates that happens in most companies is how much to invest in today's needs versus long-term needs. And my answer is really there is no one size fits all. The way to think about it is really think about decisions which are easy to change. If those are easy to change decisions, invest for today. But if these are harder to change decisions, then think about future, more deeply and invest in future at this point.
Great. Thank you so much.